Okay, hearing nothing otherwise, we will call the Historic Preservation Board meeting of June 5th, 2025 to order. Madam City Clerk, is Chaplain Mulberry possibly online with us? Okay. We do love him. We'll miss him this time, but in his absence, if we could, Ms. Allegra Kitchens, could you lead us in the invocation, please? Following the invocation, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, led by Mr. Jefferson.
Please say. Father, we ask you blessing on City Hall, city government, and we ask you blessing especially on this meeting. Bless all of us here and guide us to do your will to make this a better city in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you both. Madam City Clerk, if we could, the roll call.
Yeah, and as far
Present.
did I say it?
It's close enough. We all got it.
Ms. Patty Hope. Mr. Hollister.
Present.
Jefferson.
Present.
Bill.
Present.
Thank you very much. Mr. Jefferson, would you like to join us up?
I'm sorry, Chair, we're trying to figure out if you actually have a quorum. Can you hold on 1 second?
Oh, absolutely. Mhm.
I just needed to check with the code. We had some issues on another board recently. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for always keeping an eye on us. Thank you. The rule up here is you have to share your candy, just so you know. All right, let's move on to the meeting purpose disclosure. The purpose of the Historic Preservation Board is to steward the architecture of properties in our city's historic districts by applying the guidelines of the Secretary of Interior Standards for Historic Preservation. Which leads us to the appeal procedure, which is any person wishing to appeal any decision made by the Historic Preservation Board with respect to any matter considered at such meeting will need a record of the proceedings, and for such purpose may need to ensure that a verbatim records of the proceedings is made at the applicant's expense, which record includes the testimony and evidence upon which the appeal is to be based. Florida Statute 286.105. All right, ladies and gentlemen, any ex parte communication to divulge? No divulging. Let's move along to approval of the minutes of our May 1st, 2025 meeting. I noticed quite a few corrections and they have been made. Thank you so much. Has anyone else seen anything noteworthy? If not, I would look for a motion to approve the May meeting minutes.
A motion to approve.
Thank you. We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second? Thank you, Mr. Hollister. All in favor, please say aye. Aye, and opposed. Great. May meeting minutes are passed. Moving now on to public comments. Let's open public comments to the floor. Okay, let's close them. All right, we have one piece of new business, and that is item A, HPB 25-13 South Historic District CRA lamp posts. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Ms. Brown. Do we have any initial questions for Ms. Odom?
Who's paying for them?
Come on up, Ms. Odom.
All right, so it would be the CRA paying for them out of the South Historic District funds, but just as a little bit of background, we have not, when I say we, I'm speaking on behalf of the CRA. The CRA has not made a final decision on what they're going to do. This was their first step of coming to involve before you enter the course of what our interviews are. So if we are able to do the basket out to the CRA, if we are able to secure the solar, I'll bring that to the CRA as your options of keeping the documents or converting to a solar document. So everything would stay the same. It's just and just like obviously stated, there is a word that the documents are often blown out, but we're just now.
That's where the alternative is not for the solar. But there's no preference at this time in the CRA. It's just trying to figure out our options. And then we'll go from there.
May I? How do the adjacent property owners feel about the idea?
So we've heard a few things from different people. So I've had some people, we haven't done it. We haven't reached out to all of them great yet. When we think about the CRA, which is why it's not on the agenda for this meeting. Our next CRA is 20 examples to prepare for that, so they can make their things then. But we've heard mixed, and some people would like it to stay the same, some people would be, it's very mixed. From what I've heard.
Thank you. Mr. Hollister, sorry.
What about electric, just running wiring to these lamps? Or is that not cost prohibitive?
So we've looked into that a little bit. FPL is really a lot to work with. It's been very difficult for our public works team to get a hold of them. So at this time, we felt like the easiest option to consider would be the solar, as well as the working doing that. And of course, with time, it being time sensitive, of wanting to get these taken care of, because right now it's like, with them being out, it's not visually appealing because they're not being lit right now, except for during the holiday months.
Mr. Jefferson.
How much is the cost?
For electrical?
No, to replace to switch to solar.
I don't have that cost on the top of my head. I do apologize for that, but I know that the initial cost to keep from the state would be at least $10,000. And that will include kind of the first year of to repair things that are currently not working, replacing those gas that have been to replace, and doing that this year. But I don't think the cost would be only a few.
I have solar at my house and they don't last all night. Do you know how long these solars would be eliminated?
I do not. This was something that our public works team, they sent us this over on what you have in your packet as the best option is what they recommended. I'm sure it's in the packet of what they do, and I apologize, I don't have them at the top of my head how long they would.
Yeah, I did not see that in the packet unless I missed something.
So I don't see the specs in here. That we included, but I do apologize for that. So I don't know off the top of my head what that would be, but if this were approved, it's something that I would make sure we would consider in the sense that they would be lit during the night.
Mhm.
So they're not.
Ms. Beville.
There are more specs as far as what the materials would be for these lamp heads also, so I didn't see that in my package.
I provided that to the planning department. I'm not sure what did there, but it was metal. Like it was a metal material. Like I said, I don't see it. It wasn't but it would be very similar material to the plastic that's currently out there. It's not plastic. And then the actual glass on the heads is like glass, like an antique style glass and an antique style metal.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
There was a document I provided of all of the actual specs of the size and the material, things along those lines.
Thank you very much.
It was something of the materials. but it was metal and the glass was kind of glass.
I apologize, I didn't even see that. Email, put it in there.
Do we have other questions for Ms. Odom? I mean, my observation is, quite frankly, I've never encountered a solar light that worked very well or for long. But I mean, perhaps we're getting the super duper solar lights as opposed to just the stuff regular people buy.
That would be that's what we would want. We wouldn't want to outfit it with something that wouldn't look its best, order its best. That's something that would happen. I would definitely make sure we would replace that right away. So that is going to benefit the neighborhood by staying on all night. Be as quality as possible.
Yes, sir.
I did a little calculation, $10,000 to replace the 17 of them.
To replace, I wasn't for all 17, it would just be the, this, like I said, that was for, if we were to keep them for the glass. It would be, in total to light them all year round to the cost of the gas.
Oh.
Yeah, and then replacing the, we have to start completely, not functioning properly.
That's, so you're saying to maintain the gas is 10,000 a year.
Yes.
What's the cost to replace the heads with solar, those 17?
Like I said earlier, I don't have that close with me, because my understanding
Okay,
was today
is it more than 10,000?
I believe it would be less when it, considering that it would be, it wouldn't be an annual cost. It'd be the initial cost to purchase the,
okay.
solar lamp heads, and then as they, if over time.
That would be-
That's working, we would replace that. It wouldn't be the continuous cost of up to $1,000. That would be facing the gas.
Yeah, I'm not honestly sure, and perhaps Ms. West could direct us if that's really within our purview.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I mean, what I'm thinking of is, will the lights look the same? That's kind of where we're going with it.
Exactly. I was going to bring that up to ask
Thank
you a
you.
question about where you have an issue with the way it looks.
Mhm.
That's really what we need to be looking at.
Mm.
State what the cost we have with that with the CRO board, to determine what's more advantageous for them.
Right.
Based on our review, it seems to be it's almost the same. You can almost don't tell the difference.
Yeah. They do look similar. Are we to Ms. Goodell?
I would like to see more specifications on the actual lights before I made a decision.
What
Like
type of-
the materials, the glass, everything.
So, what, is this what you have in your packet?
This is the existing one here.
This is the existing.
Right.
and it's gone down to the-
Yes, but it doesn't show the.
And there's the
materials,
proposed.
etc.
About exactly what.
Sorry, I just meant what kind of materials the metal is, so how long it will last, as far as the longevity of each. Solar panels don't last that long, and neither does metal in Florida, we all know.
Okay, so just for clarification, right, but going by the general historic standards, one makes the way that this. It can see more than look like.
Right.
What it currently looks like.
And I would just like to add that the pole is not going to change. The pole is going to be the same. All they're going to do is change the actual lamp.
So, as you can see from this image, it looks, it's hard to tell from this image, but it looks like you probably have got like the run on. And no lock the top. So you
Yep.
have the exposed metal surface, which is quite frankly, looks very good. So even with gas lamps, they're going back to about and from the CRA. But right now, the current for this particular board is.
And whether or not it lasts or it's terribly effective really has nothing to do with us, in my estimation.
What about the bulbs? Some are LED and some are not.
That would be germane to your consideration.
Okay. Do we know what kind of bulbs would be in there?
The LED flickering one. Right, that's one. With your ones.
Light source LED.
If you would.
But yes, it would be LED, and I can pass this around. Thank you for that, and that has all the specifications you like.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Are we at a stage where we can open up to public comment? Yep. Let's go ahead and see if anyone has any thoughts on the matter. Yes, ma'am, Ms. Kitchens.
Kitchens 1027 South 12th Street, Palatka, Florida. While you can consider this, I did a study on solar because I was thinking about getting solar panels on my house, cost electricity. And all the studies I've read, solar does not work very well in Florida. While we are the sunshine state, we have a lot of sunshine, we also have a lot of clouds. The solar isn't good in Florida. One compatibility with all the I would say the previous gas lights from the 1800s did not go out after a certain number of hours. They stayed on all the time. The ones that you are looking at, that they're looking at either replace or keep, they stayed on all the time. So as far as being compatible, I would say the solar lights are not compatible with the previous historic gas lights being on all the time and not taking over the sun. So based on that, I think about is compatible. Basically, no, because they didn't have solar lights, you had gas that's staying on all the time. Now you're getting solar and you don't know how long it's going to stay on. And with historic of gas lights.
Thank you, Ms. Kitchens. Thank you, Ms. Brown. Ms. Beville, is this more along the lines of what, well, you don't know yet because you haven't seen it. Yeah, but
You want me to do it from here?
thank you, Ms. Brown.
It was almost. No, it's okay. It's the only one.
You know, in the past, I seem to recall that it was the responsibility of the homeowners who had the gas lights in front of their house to actually take care of the cost of the gas. Is that correct?
That is correct, and that was something, one of the residents, this was actually a resident. It was something where she was from, some history of, it was something. And so it was, you were telling us, like, we really like to see these all year round, the CRAs. It is a visual light when the paint is peeling, they're not on, of course, it creates ambiance in the neighborhood. And it's been described as a beautiful character paper. So from there, we have other options. We don't see what other than looking at gas lamps. And when it regards to them falling out, it's just written concept. Kind of considering not only that hazard with gas reforming the air, but also we won't talk about the findings in this setting, but that's very because police have to run it like
Yes, sir.
On here, it says light color is white. I don't like LED because sometimes they look like blue, they're kind of a funny color.
Yeah,
If we could have like a warm light bulb,
absolutely.
that would be, I think, similar to a gas light versus a high-tech LED light.
we can absolutely do that, no problem.
Take a ride to the corner of, Fourth Street and Brown. There are two houses that have the flickering LED lights, looks just like a gas light. That would be perfect.
Okay, I'll check it out, thank you.
They look like they're. Yes, they're-
That would be great. And like I said before, CRA has no preference, so I just brought this forward as the idea in the first place. I'm not sure, I'm sure you all be able to tell me a little bit more, is if it still be possible to get a certificate of appropriateness with the condition that it is a flickering solar gas lamp that is very similar to the one that I presented, which is also very similar to the ones that are currently out there, as well as the ones that they were last year, but not sure.
So we
Conditions
we
like
do
that.
not issue conditional
Okay.
certificates of appropriateness. Wow, I'm so glad you don't. And so we don't want to be the ones starting the precedent for that. However, that's the preliminary item to allow to gather additional information that would bring some of the concerns or pressure.
The things that are striking me is kind of a mixed reaction in the neighborhood, number one. My feelings about solar lighting, which is if it worked, that would be great, but typically it hardly ever does. And then the third approach from a historical preservation standpoint of, are we going all Disney-esque here? If it's a gas light and it can be repaired and, there's money in the CRA budget, perhaps we do it the right way. But, I'm just one of the gang.
I have a question. Is the CRA also going to be in charge of keeping the poles, the whole thing maintained?
Absolutely, yes.
And I just want to know if it was all right, that if we don't go forward with this, the appropriateness of person has to have confidence of this CRA. But there's then, if they're going to say to do that, or to not. I just. There is a possibility that it's not to do nothing, then the way.
Right?
So I think it would be helpful if in your motion to table, if that is your preference, it could be explicit in what exact information would like to report you. So the what to bring back.
Again, we're just here to see if they're aesthetically similar.
Correct.
That's it.
It is up to you, sir. If you would like to make a motion, we will see what happens with it.
I make a motion that we give them the go-ahead to pursue the lamps, aesthetically speaking.
Do we have a second? Crickets. Okay. Sorry about that. Does someone else have something to bring to the table?
I make a motion that we get some more information, such as perhaps a sample of one. And I'm concerned about the color of the light bulb for our next meeting.
Is there additional information the board needs? So that when we bring it back, it's gonna be sufficient.
I would love to hear from the neighborhood. I mean, that's just, I think something that's super important to all of us. All right, so we have a motion. Do we have a second
So
up?
it does sound like you're going to do polling. I don't mean to interrupt your motion, but I am conscientious of setting precedent here. We do not usually conduct community polls on variations of certificates.
That's right.
There may be a deviation here by the board because of the nature of these lands. But I just want you to be conscientious that that is not something that we haven't done polling on.
I don't believe I'm speaking about the entire neighborhood, per se. What I am talking about is, and maybe this doesn't happen anymore and I just didn't notice, but it used to be that affected property owners, adjacent property owners were notified and that our city clerk would say to us, there were responses from these, and then we would say, really? Well, what are the responses? Well, everybody thought it was a great idea. And we go, yay. People didn't like this suggestion. Okay.
For a
Well,
specific
that's
case, but
kind of what
this
I'm
one was
talking about.
different. We got 17 poles, spread out. Just to notify property owner, it would have to be almost half of the city. so.
All right. I can see that would be. Okay, well, we do have a motion, and it was quite simply that if you would reiterate for us.
I make a motion that we do not approve this, that we get a sample and have the light bulb color determined. And the discussion of the neighborhood, what the neighborhood feels about it. The neighboring, how about that? We just limit it to the two neighbors closest to the pole. That would be 34, 35. Would that be?
But I don't know, I would have to check, you know, but
All right.
usually what we do is within 150 feet.
All right, so I'll
So
start
it's
again.
gonna be a lot.
I make a motion that we do not approve this today, that we ask them to come back.
I'm saying the motion is to deny it. I thought the motion was to continue this item to the next meeting.
To the next meeting.
Yeah,
Not
which,
table,
if
but
you
to
could be
continue.
specific to the July meeting.
I make a motion that we postpone this to the July meeting so that we have an opportunity for the CRA to come back with some more information, specifically a sample, the light of the color, and to have responses from the neighbors within 50 feet of the poles.
I think what we're hearing here is that's not gonna happen. Getting the heartbeat of the community. I mean, my suggestion, but again, this is utterly out of our purview still, is that, our CRA manager, Ms. Odom, maybe go to a neighborhood association meeting and talk to them and get the pulse of the community. But again, that has nothing to do with the Historical Preservation Board. If we didn't send mailers out to adjacent property owners, then there indeed was no response. And that's kind of that. Although you did say at the beginning of your presentation that there were mixed opinions. Is that our business? No, probably not.
I have maybe a solution here. We can certainly ask the president.
Mm.
If you'd like to attend the next meeting and provide feedback, and we can engage with his membership to determine the that might be an option.
Well, I think that's a great idea, Miss West, and especially since you suggested it, let's do it. All right, so we're back to the motion, which I believe has been pared down to tabling.
I make a motion that we table this until next month's meeting and that the CRA will bring us a sample and be concerned about the color of the lights.
Excellent. I believe we have struggled out a motion. Do we have a second to that?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Ms. Pavel. Any further discussion amongst the board? If not, let's go ahead and call for the vote. All in favor, please say aye. And opposed. Thank you. Tough thought. All right, moving on to item number 5 on our agenda, and that would be other business. Do we have other business? Seeing anything at hand? Moving on to board member comments. Oh, just anything that, springs to the top of your mind, just, Yes, Mr. Hollister. Pertinent comments.
Well, it goes back to when we approved the CRA, the whole thing. I think we did a disservice to a lot of people that live in the historic districts by changing the way the TIF money's handed out. Approving that. Brought up there's an elderly woman lives around the corner from me. She fell through her deck. She doesn't have 2 nickels to rub together. The way the TIF money was given out in the past, you got 5,000 for free per job. That would help pay for her deck. Now you have to have the job done and you can only get 50% back. A lot of people don't have the 50% or the money to have the job done initially.
Ms. West.
I can speak to that. We are working very diligently. I'm sorry, Kristen left because she actually is working on what is known as the Building Improvement Grant Program. And we are changing the criteria, so those thresholds do not those matching thresholds are going to be adjusted, so there'll be a table for a larger swath of the population. Because that really should, CR we did the tip. So basically, our for that.
Are you gonna put the people that already in there stuff?
Not, I wouldn't have any red flag about it. Something. Well,
Thank you, Ms. West. Other comments from the board? Okay, how about staff comments? All right. In that case, we're scooting along. I would look for a motion to adjourn. Thank you, Mr. Hollister. Well received. Thank you, Ms. Beville. All in favor of adjourning, please say yes, please. Okay, aye.